Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram. Together? No, we don't chant this together? Yeah, we do. Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Prayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavad Gita Mashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are reading from text number, 14, is it? Yes. 14 to 32. And we'll highlight text 28. So we'll go around one person at a time. We do each verse. Text 14. Our well-wishing father Daksha, after knowing our intentions, handed over 13 of his daughters unto you, and since then we have all been faithful. Is this the right chapter?
No, it's not.
Okay. The chapter is entitled The Appearance of Lord Varahadev. Sri Manu said, O all-powerful Lord, O killer of all sins, I shall abide by your order. Now please let me know my place and that of the living entities born of me.
The master of the demigods, please attempt to merge in the great world, because it's the dwelling place for all the living entities. It can be done by an endeavor and by the mercy of the Lord.
Sri Maitreya said, thus, seeing the earth submerged in the water, Brahma gave his attention for a long time to how it could be lifted.
Brahma thought, while I have been engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by the deluge and has been gone down into the depth of the ocean. What can we do? Who are engaged in this matter of creation? It is the best to let the Almighty Lord there.
Oh, sinless Vidura. All of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb.
Out descends the barn. While Brahma was observing him, the boar began situated in the sky in wonderful manifestation, as gigantic as a great elephant.
Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma, the great Brahmanas like Maharishi, as well as the Kumaras and Manu, began to argue in various ways.
Is this some extraordinary entity come in the presence of a boar? It is very wonderful that he has come from my house.
First of all, this boar was no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. Is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu?
While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, roared tumultuously like a great mountain.
The omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions.
When the great sages and thinkers who are residents of Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Bor, which was the all-auspicious sound of all merciful lords, they chanted auspicious chants from the three Vedas.
Like an elephant, he entered into the water after roaring again in reply to the Vedic prayers by the great devotees. The Lord is the object of the Vedic prayers, and thus he understood that the devotees' prayers were meant for him.
Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Bor flew in the sky, slashing his tail with his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks.
He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu and was therefore transcendental. Yet, because he had the body of a hawk, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the river.
Diving into the water like a giant mountain, Lord Bor divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord, "O Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection."
Lord Bor penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it.
Lord Bor very easily took the earth and his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus he appeared very splendid. Then, his anger growing like the seduction will, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha. Both who tried to fight the Lord.
Thereupon Lord Bor killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth.
We'll go to text 28. We'll read it together. Granena prithya padavim vijigran. Yeah, call and response, yeah. Yeah. So first line, right? Okay, we'll start again. Granena prithya padavim vijigran. Krodha badesha swayam advaranga. Karala damstropya karala drigyam. Udvikshya vipran grinato vishatkam. Granena pritya padavim vijigran. Krodha padesha swayam advaranga. Karala damstropya karala drityam. Udvikshya vipran grinato vishatkam. Please chant. Granena pritya padavim vijigran. Krodha padesha swayam advaranga. Karaladam stropya karala drivyam.
Udvishya viprangranatha vishatram.
Granena pritya padavim vijigran.
Krodha padesha swayam
Advaranga. Karaladam stropya karala drivyam. Udvikshya viprangranatha vishatram.
Granena pritya padavim vijigran.
Granena pritya padavim vijigran.
Krodha padesha swayam advaranga.
Krodha padesha swayam advaranga.
Aladam stropi akarala dhrityam.
Karaladam stropya karala drivyam.
Viksha vipran granato vishatram.
Udvikshya viprangranatha vishatram.
Granena pritya padavim vijitram.
Granena pritya padavim vijigran.
Krodha padesha swayam advaranga.
Krodha padesha swayam advaranga.
Karaladam stropya karala drivyam.
Karaladam stropya karala drivyam.
Viksha vipran grinato vishankham.
Udvikshya viprangranatha vishatram. Synonyms, please. All together. Granena, by smelling. Prithya, of the earth. Padavim, situation. Vijigran, searching after the earth. Krodha apadesha, assuming the body of a hog. Swayam, personally. Advara, transcendental. Anga, body. Karala, fearful. Damstra, teeth, tusks. Api, in spite of. Akarala, not fearful. Drigvyam, by his glance. Udvikshya, glancing over. Vipran, all the Brahmin devotees. Grinata, who were engaged in prayers. Avishat, entered. Come, the water. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu and was therefore transcendental. Yet, because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee Brahmins engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the water. We should always remember that although the body of a hog is material, the hog form of the Lord was not materially contaminated. It is not possible for an earthly hog to assume a gigantic form spreading throughout the sky, beginning from the Satyaloka. His body is always transcendental in all circumstances. Therefore, the assumption of the form of a boar is only his pastime. His body is all Vedas or transcendental. But since he had assumed the form of a boar, he began to search out the earth by smelling, just like a hog. The Lord can perfectly play the part of any living entity. The gigantic feature of the boar was certainly very fearful for all non-devotees. But to the pure devotees of the Lord, he was not at all fearful. On the contrary, he was so pleasingly glancing upon his devotees that all of them felt transcendental happiness. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the graduate study of spiritual understanding. So someone who's not gone through the preliminary stages of education, spiritual education, they'll read this and think, what? What the heck is going on, right? It's completely incomprehensible to someone who doesn't have the previous background, who hasn't been trained systematically. I was once in Govinda's restaurant in Los Angeles taking prasad, and my cousin was with me. And my cousin is from a Muslim background. He's quite learned in the Islamic tradition. And so we were sitting there having prasad, and I was very happy that my cousin was taking prasad, getting some spirit. And then on the wall, there was a picture. The picture was of Mother Yashoda with Krishna, very innocent looking Krishna sitting on her lap. And so my cousin said, what's that picture? And so all sorts of thoughts began going through my mind. What should I tell him? Well, this is Krishna pretending to be God, pretending to be innocent, but actually what he was previously doing was going and stealing butter and causing havoc in the neighborhood and pinching the children. And then I just, very quickly, I processed that whole what to tell him thing. And I said, no, this is just Indian artwork. That was it. That was the response. And we went on to the next topic, because he wouldn't in a million years be able to comprehend such a topic. Once I was distributing books in Miami airport, and I met one guy from Jamaica, because lots of people used to come through from Jamaica. I even sold a book to the ex-prime minister of Jamaica, Michael Manley. Nice man. He took Bhagavad Gita. So anyway, this gentleman's passing through, this guy's passing through, and I hand him The Science of Self-Realization. That's my go-to book. I love that book. I love, because people can relate to it, they can understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And I hand the guy the book. He says, no, I have this book. I said, oh, you have that? Not this book. I got a different book. I said, which book did you get? He said, I got a book. The book was called The Krishna Book. And he spoke, of course, with a Jamaican accent. And I said, oh, you got the Krishna book. Did you? And who reads the whole Krishna book? I said, did you read some of the Krishna book? Yeah, man, I read the Krishna book. I said, what? You read the whole Krishna book? He said, yeah, man, I read the whole Krishna book. And the thing don't make no sense. So he read the whole book and nothing, so what's going on here? So when people hear this, get this information, it's very hard to digest, very hard to understand how the Supreme Lord has any form, first of all. People can't even conceive of that. That's an advanced stage of understanding. In the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, what is that chapter called? Can anyone say? The English. What's the English of that chapter? What's the name of the chapter? 15th chapter Bhagavad Gita. The yoga of the Supreme Person. Yes? So, the last verses of the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking. And what does he say? That this is the most confidential knowledge. I am the Supreme Personality. I'm Purushottama, the Supreme Person. And this is the most confidential part of all the Vedic scriptures. And I'm now revealing it to you. And one who knows this, he's achieved the culmination of understanding, and he engages in devotional service. So it's a very advanced stage of understanding. Typically, when people are asked to describe what is God, they'll have some other idea of God. God is the universe. God is very vague ideas. God is the supreme power. God is the impersonal absolute. That makes sense to a lot of people, right? God is the all-pervading power, the all-pervading light. So the basic principle of existence is that there's God and there's the living entities. And what's going on? The living entities are desiring, and the Supreme Lord is reciprocating with the desires of the living entities. That's what's going on, isn't it? Sum and substance of what's happening. Souls, tiny souls are desiring, and Krishna, no one can fulfill their desire independently. Krishna's fulfilling the desires of the living entities. So based on their desires, Krishna is giving them a particular way of looking at the world. So if someone wants to live in a world where there's no God, they won't see God anywhere. They look at the sunrise, no God. They don't see the artistry of God, the majesty of God. Wow, who has done this? Who has painted the sky with all these? They won't see anything like that. Even if they're confronted directly with the most convincing evidence, still, they'll say this is something different. What's an example of that? Someone who is confronted so powerfully with evidence that this is God and still somehow rationalized it, somehow came up with a different explanation. Mahabharata. Anyone can give an example from Mahabharata of a person who was an extremely ill-motivated person who was confronted with an awesome form of the Supreme Lord and still he did say Duryodhana. That's the example, Duryodhana. Krishna came on behalf of the Pandavas to negotiate. Let's avoid this war. Let's avoid this war. So he came to Duryodhana and said, why fight a battle? Let's come to a negotiation, come to a reasonable agreement. And Duryodhana was so stubborn. No, I won't give the Pandavas anything. What to speak of 5 villages? I won't give them enough land to put a pin inside of. There was
Needle's end.
Yeah, it doesn't get any smaller than that. There was no room for negotiation in Duryodhana's mind. And finally he thought, who is this Krishna coming on me? And he ordered his guards, tie up Krishna. Good luck. There's not many people who can tie up Krishna. One person for sure can tie up Krishna. And it's not Duryodhana or his guards. They tried to tie up Krishna. And then Krishna, he manifested a universal form, a different edition of the universal form. And everyone's jaw dropped to the ground. Everyone was awestruck, overwhelmed by this awesome, overwhelming vision. And then after they recovered a little bit, Duryodhana rationalized, Krishna is known to be somewhat of a magician. This is a pretty great magic trick Krishna has pulled off. He couldn't accommodate in his brain anywhere because of his desire. So based on the desire of the living entity, they'll understand God in a certain way. And then there are others who are finished with material existence. They have the intelligence to understand. This much they've understood, that there's no possibility of success here. Zero possibility. It's a losing horse every time. And somehow everyone keeps betting on that losing horse. Maybe this time, no, it's a losing horse. Tara Prabhu used to say, material existence, you can't win, that's for sure. You can't break even. Not like, well, it was a tie, I did pretty good. You can't break even. And what's the final one? You lose, always lose. What's the fight? You can't even quit, right? So, okay, I quit. Right? You can't even quit. Can't win, can't break even, can't quit. So some people are thoughtful enough, intelligent enough, they've understood a losing proposition, material existence. And Krishna confirms it in the Bhagavad Gita. Mrityu sarva haras chaham. I come as death and take everything away. Dukale yamashashvatam. They've understood that. But there's a problem. There's a problem in their heart. The conditioned souls in this world are afflicted by two tendencies. What are the two tendencies of the conditioned souls in this world? One tendency is the desire to exploit matter. Everyone is seeing this, the material objects, and thinking, for my enjoyment. And the other infection in the heart is envy. Envy starts from God. They're envious of God. So there's a class of people who've come to the realization this material world is hopeless case, and they try to appreciate the absolute truth, but they can't appreciate the supreme personality of God because they have envy in their heart. They can't see, they can't understand that God is a person, despite all the good arguments. You give them all the good arguments. No, they can't accommodate it in their brains. Despite all the evidence of the great authorities, these are people in the Vedic culture. What are they saying? They're saying that Krishna's wrong in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, clear as day, simple Sanskrit, not complex. I'm the supreme personality. They don't accept that. They reject Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Vishnu Swami, Chaitanya. They reject all of the great authorities of of their own culture because of deep envy. I don't like the idea that God is a person. Why? Because I'm envious. I don't want to serve God. Now, the idea that I'm one with God is a nice idea. I like that idea. I get to be God. That's an inviting proposition. So this understanding that God is the supreme person, this is the advanced understanding. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti. Brahmeti means the impersonal aspect. That's one aspect of the absolute truth. It's not denied. God is Puranam, complete. So how can God be complete unless God has all the features? The impersonal aspect is there. The localized aspect is there, God within the heart. And how can God be complete if God doesn't have personality? That doesn't make any sense. If you think about all of the outstanding qualities that living entities have, someone name an outstanding quality that a living being has. Please, name some. Sorry, say it again.
Being grateful.
Being grateful.
Able to dance.
Dancing ability. That's nice, isn't it? It's nice to be able to, seeing someone who's an expert dancer, something else. Anyone.
Passion.
Yes. Choice. Free will. Yes. Anyone else?
Love.
Love. The ability to love.
Compassion.
Compassion. Humor. Having a good sense of humor. Being able to crack a good joke. Beauty. Go right down the list. All the different. Say it.
Ability to do a Jamaican accent.
Yeah, Jamaican accent. Linguistic ability. Go right down the list. And what do they all connect to? What's their foundation?
Personality.
The foundation is that it's a person. It's personality. So they're saying that God has none of these things. God is not the supreme dancer, not the supreme artist, not the supreme musician, not the funniest. None of these things. God is zero. That's their idea of the supreme. Strip away everything, and then you have the supreme. No, actually, it makes more sense that all of those qualities are manifested unlimitedly in the supreme, yes? And therefore we have Krishna. That's Krishna. So if one doesn't have an envious disposition, at least they can understand this theoretically. And Krishna's amazing. He's amazing. What's going on here? This is superhero type of stuff, isn't it? It's just total superhero type of stuff on a different level, right? Brahma has just finished creating the universe. You've just made something real nice, and along comes the demon. And that's what the demons do. They spoil everything, right? 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Engaged in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to what? Meant to meant to destroy the world, meant to ruin the world. So Brahma just, put in his best intelligence, made a nice cosmos, engineer of the universe. They did a lot of work. And suddenly the demon comes and throws it out of whack. That's what demons do. So he throws the earth into the depths of the Garbhodak ocean. So what does Brahma do? He has a meeting, a brainstorming session with himself. 4 heads, so he's having a whole thought process happening there,
Be pretty tough.
One man meeting, there's no arguments going on, just different good ideas coming into the mix. And as he's contemplating, how are we going to figure this out, because they asked him, we got to fix this situation. And this is a job for Vishnu. So as he's thinking, we really need the help of this, he feels something in his nose. And suddenly out of his nose comes a form of a boar the size of a part of a thumb. Krishna has a great sense of humor. And suddenly that form becomes bigger and bigger. And then the sages are all gazing at that form and they're wondering, what is it? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? It's a Superman reference in case you don't know. And then finally the Lord, he gives a resounding roar. Said, no, that's Vishnu. Only Vishnu can resoundingly roar like that. So they begin offering their beautiful Vedic hymns. And then Vishnu is manifest in this amazing form of a boar, transcendental. How will someone from a different tradition understand this? You just hope they don't ask the question. You hope that Muslim that you meet on campus doesn't ask the question. I heard you people believe God assumes the form of a boar, because you've got a lot of explaining to do.
Haram, they'll say haram.
Haram, the most haram, this is most forbidden,
Boar.
Yes, they might pass away right on the spot. At least they'll be thinking of something connected to God, but it's
Interesting, when I was a little kid, growing up in Singapore, Indian family, I had no problem accepting all this. But as I grow up, I start thinking, oh, this is really far out. It turns out, so this is like 7 hours. My mother used to take me to different temples, especially it's a famous temple, a Lord Vishnu, the Dasavatar is there. And as a child, I had no problem accepting all that because there was a cultural environment which supported that. But as I grow older, start learning about other things, science, and then my bad logic starts coming. Is this, even as a devotee, wow, this is really far out. How am I going to explain this to somebody, And but I never had such doubt when I was a kid. Maybe the innocence make it more easy to accept this knowledge.
Yeah, that's right. Children, they can accept. And then those who are extremely learned, they can also accept. Based on the understanding, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, beginning of the Bhagavatam, isn't it? Krishna is the original form of God. And what is that nature of that personality? Well, he's young, eternally young, Navayovana. And what's his nature? He's playful. He's artistic. He's creative. He likes to have, what's God up to, right? That's a reasonable question. You ask people in different, what's God doing? Well, God is sitting on a throne. They don't know what his form is like, but he's sitting. And what's he doing? He's just looking down at this world and seeing what people in this world are doing and judging them. Good one, bad one. That's to some degree their version of what God's up to. Yes, please.
If I may add something.
Yes.
Of course, for me, it was very hard to understand all this. I came to be an atheist after being trained Christian. But in the depth of the philosophy in the West are the Greek, the most sophisticated. And the problem starts there. Because the Greek, in Greek, persona means mask. So persona is the mask, and the real self is the psyche. So even if you get very sophisticated into the Western thought, and the psyche can be exchangeable because it's an actor. So it can be yourself, can be any other. So to relating to the person, even the word person cannot be used for people to understand. Because you use persona means a mask. So we have to find ways to go through that. Because as soon as you say persona, personality, it means, oh, he's faking something. So it's a big challenge. That's why Prabhupada's actually Sunyavadi. I don't know how he cut through that, but by his enticing personality himself, got us to go through. And even when he says Hare Krishna, he says Hare is the internal energy of the Lord, because then, girlfriend, that's also very far, God having a girlfriend. So I think we have to be very creative to approach people, because it's kind of mission impossible to go through that things that are so strong in the mind and in the heart of people. And then we have this Michelangelo painting, because they paid him, and they paint God. So he said, what's God? So some clouds and guy there, pretty bad because, the light. But then you have the Romans on one side and the Greeks on the other side. The Romans playing this funny God, and the Greeks the impersonal God. So how you go through that jungle, that's difficult. And the Muslim, of course, they have a whole different school. So we need to devise means to cut through those. Actually, it's a hard task.
Thank you. Yes, Narada ji, Narada Prabhu.
Since Krishna is the master mystic, Yogeshwar, as you quoted, those vague ideas gradually, in due course of time, it is diminishing. It's because since Krishna is the master of mystic, you see a man coming from Saudi Arabia, where Islamic faith is very strong. He's speaking about Krishna, first thing. And second thing, I think I was explaining you that they did a lot of research work in Saudi Arabia. In 6 directions, they found 6 sun temples. They already discovered 4, and now they're after 2. They're trying to find out. And they thought that just what we're thinking 0, it is not 0, it is not vague. So therefore, they have introduced in schools and colleges the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, all these things now just all over Arabian school colleges are introduced. So this is master of mystic is doing these things. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, bro.
Like about generally, people would have ideas that being a person is limiting. Like you can be you're basically yourself, and if God is a person, it limits to particular personal traits, and then God is everything and nothing. Kind of that idea. How do you answer that?
I think you just refer to Dr. Frog idea, and people can understand that they're the ones who are putting that imposition on personality. Why is it necessarily impossible that there's a person who's not limited? What is why is that a necessity? So here there's descriptions of an unlimited personality. So there's good reasoning to support what's stated in the Shastra. And then the details are given in the Shastra of what is the nature of that unlimited personality. So they're trying to impose their limited experience on the totality of existence, which is not a sensible way to proceed. Yes,
Does Lord Boar have a name?
Varahadev. Varaha. Yes.
Thank you so much for the class, Prabhu. Very, very lucid. Wakes you up. I wanted to ask, because we're now at this advanced study of Godhood, of who God is, and of the science of our relationship and worship of God, what is the disposition that rather we should carry? And is there any advice on actually coming into acceptance of the craziness that could be going on? You know, that's something I kind of struggle with, because I sort of am always surprised. It seems to be me that this is supposed to be actually obvious that we're actually at we're the minority who understand this, but somehow when we become a devotee, like at least for me, I mean, I used to not know who Krishna was, right? But then now I know who Krishna is. I'm like, everything else is ridiculous. But that kind of extremist sort of mentality doesn't help, because then how am I supposed to speak with somebody who actually don't understand right now? How do I reason with them? Or do I reason with them? Do I, how do we approach that?
Sure. You asked about the disposition.
Internally.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Yes, what's the disposition? The disposition of a person who's come into the practice of Krishna consciousness is that I'm causelessly fortunate. Does that make sense? Yes, causelessly fortunate. The normal system is that one goes through all the different steps of progress. Karma kanda, one is a very pious person, and then one comes to an understanding that there's an absolute truth beyond matter, and typically it's an impersonal understanding, and perhaps next is an understanding of that God is within the heart of every living entity, and then next is an understanding that God is a person, the Vishnu form of the Lord. What's being described, especially in the month of Damodar, the form of God as a child, it's so advanced, this understanding of Krishna, that even the people who were sitting in the assembly in front of Shukadev Goswami as he's narrating as narrating the 10th canto, he's narrating the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis. And Maharaja Parikshit is observing that many people in the audience, I don't know, many or who was fidgeting, uncomfortable, because they weren't getting it. They couldn't understand. Imagine how qualified they were to be sitting in that assembly and they didn't understand. So by the grace of Mahaprabhu, by the grace of Prabhupada, many of us have been given the opportunity to surpass all these steps. All the steps which are normally required to come to this stage of bhakti yoga, to come to this stage of devotional service. Bahunam janmanam ante, Jnanavan mam prapadyate. After many lifetimes of cultivating knowledge, one comes to the point of surrendering. One comes to the point of appreciating that God is a person and trying to render devotional service. So by the grace of a pure devotee, by the grace of Mahaprabhu, one is able to surpass those preliminary stages. So we should never feel that I'm qualified, I'm entitled. And as far as sharing Krishna consciousness with others, well, that requires constant tweaking, constant practice. Even Vyasadeva, I'm going to end with this because we're over time. Even Vyasadeva was approached. He didn't present things perfectly. Narada, when he came, said, you didn't present things properly. You leaned too far to this side. You didn't reveal Krishna enough. Even Vyasadeva. Of course, this is Leela, but the point is given that we always need to refine our presentation. We always need to take into account who am I talking to, what is their capacity, Is their capacity only prasadam? Is their capacity prasadam plus a little bit of chanting of the mantras? Is their capacity prasadam plus mantra chanting plus some philosophy? How much philosophy? What should I present? So that requires some prayer, some thoughtfulness, and some experience. And sometimes we get it wrong. We present too much information, and the person is looking at us dumbfounded, like, I have no idea what you're talking about, you know? And so we rewind and we try to present more basic information. So I think we've gone over time now. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you so much for the class. Yeah, this is a very important point. Somebody who just mentioned. Preaching to the faithless, it's something very detrimental. So these are the words of caution. We should not. If we want our bhakti to be protected, we should be very careful to what extent we engage. Especially these kind of outlandish, over the top, like mythical stories that people just won't appreciate. If we do engage, it will affect our bhakti. Especially if we don't have a reason or explanation for ourselves. But we'll learn through those experiences, and we should reflect. Like in book distribution, if you find somebody with a good question you don't have answer to, you don't just engage. You're like, that's a really good question. Let me get back to you. And then you think about it, inquire, and then become solid. Otherwise, in due course, it chips away. It chips away our enthusiasm. It affects us. It will affect us. Prabhupada said, I translate very, very fast. But to present to the common men, that takes some time. So we also have to tax our brains. How do you, well, BI is here. They deal with scientists and the way we present. But it's hard when you said the envy. Envy is so dealing with that, it's very delicate.
Great.
And we don't want to just be people. We want to win their hearts too. That's the we want to win their hearts. So friendship first. Yesterday we talked about Jayananda. He didn't preach. He just made friends. Make friends. Don't get entangled.
Thank you very much. Great points. Okay, we've gone over time, so thank you all very much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.